Hi, good evening, parents. I still see some people trickling in, so we'll get started in about 2 to 3 minutes, okay? Good evening, parents, and welcome to our guidance presentation that we have tonight. My name is Dr. Ursula Moore. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Glen Cove High School. One of the assistant principals here at Glen Cove High School. One of my responsibilities is that I supervise and help to lead our fantastic guidance team. So I'm going to open up with a few small things to say. I still see families coming in. By all means, you're very welcome. And, we like to see as many parents and families participate as possible. As I stated before, my name is Dr. Ursula Moore, and I proudly serve as the assistant principal here at Glen Cove High School. We're excited to welcome our juniors and their families as we begin this important next chapter together. Before we begin, please be reminded in case of an emergency that there are 2 exits, one to my left, one to my right, as well as 2 in the rear. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our Board of Education, which I see a member in the audience right now, our superintendent, and district leadership team for their continued support of our academic programming and student opportunities here in Glen Cove. I also want to recognize our principal and building administration team, coordinators, as well as our dedicated counselors, teachers, and support staff. Thank you for all the work you do each and every day to guide and prepare our students for success. And lastly, I would also like to thank the families and everyone else who helps to support our team where we work together to educate the whole child. Junior year is a pivotal time. It's the moment when students begin connecting their interests, strengths, and goals in their life after high school. Whether the path includes college, the military, trade programs, or entering the workforce, this year is all about exploration, growth, and ownership. So tonight you will hear about postgraduate plans and different opportunities for our students here. Families, thank you for your partnership, your questions, and the steady support you provide at home. We walk this journey together. Okay, and to our students, the class of 2027, this is your time. Lean in, challenge yourselves, take advantage of every resource, and don't be afraid to dream big. We believe in you, and we're here to support your vision for the future. Thank you again for joining us tonight. We look forward to working with you throughout this year and celebrating your success every step of the way. So welcome, and let's get started. Our first counselor we have tonight is Miss Alyssa Anderson.
Thank you, Dr. Mora. So I'm Miss Anderson, and I know it's a little crazy. We're talking about senior year. We're talking about the college process. How many of you, is it your first time that you're applying to college? Okay, how many of you have done this before? Okay, so I'm going to repeat some things for you guys, but things are always changing. It's a new experience for everybody, so we like to start this early and have the conversations early, because the more information you get early on, the better off you'll be later. Okay, so we like to start this now so that you have plenty of time to get through this. You have plenty of time to work on applications, know what you're doing, so that when you enter senior year, you already have an idea of what's happening. Some of you could have applications as early as October. So you want to start now, you want to meet with your counselor, you want to have these conversations now so that you're prepared and ready for next year, okay? So a lot of things you have to consider when you're thinking about the college process. It's not just about, do they have the academics I want? Is it the size of the school that I want? Is the location right? Is it out of state, in state? That's going to depend on price. Is it public or private? The environment. There's a lot of different factors that kind of you want to go over before you make your decision or when you start choosing schools. So with that being said, we have a few terms that we use that you want to come up with when you're considering schools. So target schools, reach schools, and likely schools. So I usually think like a list of like 10 is usually okay. Have a mixture of different likely target and reach schools, and not just academically, but also financially, because it doesn't always just come down to the academics. If you got into the school, can you afford the school? Everything else that may become a consideration when you're thinking about when choosing a school. So right now we use Naviance. So Naviance is a great tool. It can help you develop that list, and you just want a balanced list. So on here you can see some data through the scattergrams. The scattergrams will have all students throughout Glen Cove High School over the years who have gotten into different schools. If they haven't gotten into the schools, you can see the data on those scattergrams, and that can kind of help you develop your list and see where you fall amongst those schools. So you'll see your GPA, your SAT, ACT score, and where you are on that scattergram. So everyone has a Naviance account. It's linked through your PowerSchool, so you don't need to remember your username and password anymore. You just kind of click on and it's linked right there. You can do career assessments on there if you're unsure of what pathway you want to take. You can do different college searches. You can schedule college visits. It really is very useful and very helpful for you during the college process. And when we meet with you individually during your junior meeting, we will show you how to use it and the different ways that you can use it. Parents can also get involved. So if you want to also see the Naviance account and have access to it, we can give you access, and you can kind of create your own account and you can see it from your end as well as your child. So campus visits are another important thing. So you want to develop that list, you want to start seeing schools, because I've heard so many seniors say that they come up with a list, they have their dream schools, but then when they go and see those schools in person, it's completely different. You can go on a campus and you just know, like, this is it, this is where I want to be, or I don't want anything to do with this school. And that also kind of helps you figure out what you're looking for. So you may be looking for maybe Greek life, maybe you're looking for somewhere in an urban area because you want to study business and you want to be able to have different co-op opportunities or internship opportunities. So a lot of factors come into play, and doing these campus visits are so important because it will show you what you're interested in. Even if you have no idea, you can go even visit schools that are nearby that maybe you don't intend on attending, and you could figure out certain things that you're looking for. Campus size, class size. Smaller classes, you get more attention. Bigger classes, you get less. You're more of just a number. So it really kind of depends on what experience you're looking for. And by visiting the schools, you'll be able to get a better experience that way and figure that out. You also can see specific programs. You can maybe even shadow in a classroom and see what a professor is teaching about and if it's something that you really could see yourself doing or being in. So it has a lot of benefits, and we really highly recommend by the time you do kind of get that list of all the schools that you really are considering, that you visit them before you commit anywhere. You definitely want to see them and just do that before you commit. And also, schedule those visits. Put it on the record so that they can see that you went there. You're showing interest. We call it demonstrated interest. So this shows interest beyond just applying. And then there's different college fairs that you can attend. So this is a way, again, for you to kind of speak with those reps. You can build a rapport with them. They are the ones that are on these admission committees and making these admissions decisions. So instead of just being a number on a page or a transcript, you can put a face to the name. So this way you can kind of develop that rapport, ask them any questions. There's always a rep for every area, so you'll be able to discuss and ask any questions with them. Now, don't just ask questions that you can easily find on the website. You want to ask more in-depth questions. Show that you're doing your research. So show interest in the school and that you've actually taken the time to do research on their school. So I'm going to introduce Ms. Ioka next, but I do want to make one announcement. So after we're done with our presentation, we have student ambassadors from Harvard and Cornell that will be presenting in rooms 102 and 104. So after we're finished, you guys can go over there and hear their presentation and listen to what they have to say as well.
Hello, everyone. So in this part of the presentation, I'm going to be talking about what college admissions counselors are looking for when you're applying. So, of course, the biggest piece is definitely your GPA and the transcript. So when you're applying, you're going to be using your cumulative GPA from your freshman, sophomore, and junior year. They're also going to be looking at the rigor of the classes that you're taking, like AP Honors, Regents level. They're going to be seeing what you're taking during your senior year as well. And we're going to see an example of a transcript. So this is an example of a transcript that the admissions counselors are going to see. So on here, like I said, is going to be your cumulative GPA from your freshman, sophomore, junior year in that top corner. It's also listed over there is the community service hours, which you could still hand in, throughout the year. And in addition, you can see like the work in progress section. That's what they're currently taking. So that'd be their senior year courses. And of course, on these 4 boxes here is what they've taken throughout high school. And then the Regents exams are also on the bottom corner as well. Activities is another thing that college admissions counselors look for as well. On your Common application, you can list up to 10 activities, and there's also an honors section in your Common app that you can list any honors or awards that you receive. And this is definitely a big piece because what a lot of admissions counselors do is a holistic review, which means that they're looking at the overall applicant, not just about their grades, but what are they involved in? Are they involved in sports, in clubs, music? They definitely want enriched candidates to their university so they could also be very involved on their community as well. So that's a really important piece too. Letters of recommendation. So this is another piece of the application that they're going to be looking at. You definitely want to ask teachers for at least 2 letters of recommendation. I'd definitely highly encourage core classes, but other supplemental letters of rec that you could use is like BOCES, teachers, or a club, or any activities or sports. So that kind of goes over the teacher letters of rec. And then there's also the counselor letter of recommendation. So in order for us to write our letters of recommendation for the counselors, we ask for a brag sheet from the parents and a student autobiography that will help us write our letter of recommendation for you guys. And we give out this information during your senior meetings in the fall. So just make sure that you hand those in to us so that we can write those for you. And then it's also important, you can give a little thank you note or just, to appreciation to your teachers for taking the time to write a letter of recommendation for them. Okay, next is the SAT and the ACT. So a lot of schools are test optional, but we do highly encourage students to take the SAT or ACT because this could help your chances of even like scholarship money for some schools. It could higher your chances of accumulating a higher package. It also could help with your acceptance as well. But as I said before, a lot of schools are test optionals, and you can see a whole list of them on www.fairtest.org to see what schools are test optional and what schools require tests. We usually recommend that students try at least one of each of the exams so they can kind of see where they, doing better in. And then there's also something called super scoring. So if you take, let's say, like the SAT 2 times, and you do better on the first time in the English section than you did on the second time that you took it, you can super score it to maximize that score. And that's kind of how super scoring works. I think that's everything that I want to go over for that. And what is the difference between the SAT and the ACT? So the SAT has an English and math section. The ACT has English, math, and a science section. The ACT is out of 36, and the SAT is out of 1,600. And they're offered throughout the year. So if you want to sign up for the SAT or the ACT, you can go right to the website for College Board for the SAT and then ACT directly to their website. How to prepare for the SAT and the ACT. There are some places that you can go. You can go on test prep through Castle Learning, Khan Academy, and Kaplan ACT test prep, and that ends the SAT, ACT information. So I'm going to hand it off now to Mrs. McAuliffe, and she's going to talk about this next.
Thank you, Ms. Ioka. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well so far. So now I'm going to get to the fun part of how we actually apply to college. So for those of you who have already done this before, you should be familiar with something called the Common Application. The Common Application is the main application that you will be filling out for the majority of your schools. Some of you may have also heard of the SUNY application. You will see in October there will be a free application week for the SUNYs. You are able to do the free application week on the Common App as well. So there's really no need to necessarily do the SUNY specific application anymore. All of those schools you can still apply to on the Common App. The two larger differences would be that you would be applying for the CUNY schools on the CUNY separate application, as well as Nassau Community College on their separate application. I don't think we have it up there, but just for you all to know by the time senior year comes as well. We do also have on-site admissions days. So some of the schools that you might be applying to on the Common App, some of like Nassau Community College, some of the more local schools will also come into this building and will actually sit with you and give you an on-the-site admissions decision. So just something to keep in the back of your mind when you are starting to fill out some of these applications. Is it me? It's usually me. It's me. So when you're thinking about when you should apply to college, nobody is behind. If you're here, you're setting yourself up to be in a really great position come the fall. So the Common Application will open in August for all current juniors. So as soon as that application opens, you can go on and you can start making an account. You will make an account with your personal email. Do not use your school email address. You want to be able to have access for the Common Application from when you are not in school. Afterwards, if for some reason you have to get back in and you've already graduated, you want to have continuous access to the Common App. When you're thinking about different application deadlines, in our department, we do try to enforce the idea of early action for most students. So early action typically is earlier deadlines. That's usually October 1st, October 15th, November 1st, November 15th, and then sometimes December 1st and December 15th. That will give you sometimes a better chance of getting into certain schools. The trends that we're seeing is that more and more students are applying for those earlier deadlines. So if students in other schools are applying at those earlier deadlines, that means you should be doing the same to make sure that you're keeping a competitive application. So when we're talking about early action, that means that you should be starting your Common Application earlier over the summer. And then once we come back in the fall, you'll start to have your individual senior meetings with your guidance counselor. And at that point, we can start to provide any school information that you will need to complete your application. Regular decision and rolling admissions, you will see at most schools will offer both of those options. Regular decision is pretty straightforward. There's one deadline and you apply for the regular decision date. Rolling admissions typically means that you can apply up until any time that the school year starts the following year. The one question we always get is what is the difference between early action and early decision? And that is something that you really need to pay attention to when you're submitting your applications. Early action is non-binding. Early decision is binding. So if you apply to a school early decision and you get in, which is awesome, that means that is a school that you are going to, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you have to be 100% sure that you can financially afford this school, that you have sat down with your family to have a conversation about what you are looking to do, and then know that in September I am happy and okay with going to UConn in September, and that's where I'm going and I'm good with it. So we typically recommend early action over early decision, but if your heart is very set on a school and you know that it's something that you want to do and you're comfortable with, by all means, you can have that conversation with us. We do have to sign off on something in guidance for you to be able to submit an early decision application, so you would need to bring that to us as well, but just something to have the conversation at home starting now. Next year, we started to go into classrooms this week actually to start scheduling for next year. So if you have not added this class to your schedule and you are interested in it, the class is called College Essay Writing. Ms. Tulip currently teaches it. So for next year, if you are somebody who needs a little bit maybe more support, maybe you need a little bit more structure and deadlines, College Essay Writing is a class that will be put into your schedule for the first semester if you are interested in taking it. And Ms. Tulip will literally go through the entire Common Application with you from the start to the end. She then, once your applications are submitted, she will go through all of the different scholarship options for your child, and then she will also go through creating a resume to be able to submit as well. So again, a lot of students like it because it provides them that structure, but if you're somebody who you feel like you really want to make sure you get your early action deadlines in and you're kind of like a starter yourself and you're really highly motivated to get your applications in, you will be meeting with your counselors individually as well. So this class is not a requirement, it's just a good option to have in case you are interested in having the time in the school building, especially if you're busy outside of school, to be able to get some of your applications done. Financial aid. So has anyone done, I'm assuming a few people raised their hands that they've had students in the past. So financial aid, luckily this year actually went really, really well and compared to years past. It seems to be figured out for right now. It did open on time this year, so it opened on October 1st, so hopefully next year it will open on time as well. We will also offer a financial aid night here. Last year and this year, we had representatives from MYIT come in. You sign up for the financial aid night, you bring all of your financial documents, and you'll have your Chromebook. We also have the computers here in this building, and you'll sit with an MYIT officer and actually go through the entire FAFSA with you, and they can complete it with you and for you. So this is not something that we typically work on with students in this building, just because, no offense, I don't want to see your financial information as much as you probably don't want me to see your financial information, and I also, 1 + 1 does not work out for me. So I'm not going to help you with your FAFSA. That is something that you will be able to do either if you call directly, all of their information will be on their website, or if you would like to come in for the meeting with MYIT representatives, hopefully we will have them again next year as well. The CSS profile is school specific. If you go on College Board, they have an entire link for all of the schools that will require the CSS profile. This is typically done at a later date. Their deadline is also at a later date. So depending on what schools you or your child is applying to, we can go through those lists with them, but you can also kind of get an idea of the CSS profile ahead of time. It's basically a deeper dive into your finances, so more so of all of your assets. So something to keep in mind when you're thinking about filling out all of these financial pieces. The Excelsior Scholarship, we will also go over more on a one-to-one basis with students and with you once you have your one-to-one meetings with us. But just for you to know, if anyone is interested in looking into it, there are specific eligibility requirements. So if you go on the New York State website, you can type in Excelsior Scholarship and it will give you a full breakdown of what those eligibility requirements are. Is anyone in here planning on playing Division I or Division II athletics or have an idea of maybe? That's okay. That's okay. I won't call you out. Just for you to know, our course catalog has been updated, so you should be able to have access to it in your Google Classrooms as well as on the school website. All of the classes that are NCAA eligible or approved will now say it in the course catalog. So if you are going to play Division I or Division II athletics at the NCAA level, you will need to have certain classes that make you eligible as a student athlete. So making sure that if you have not already had that conversation with your guidance counselor, you absolutely need to go have that conversation tomorrow, because we're doing scheduling for next year, so we need to make sure that you're in all the classes that you need to be in going forward. It's also a conversation that you should be having with your coaches as well, so that they are aware and that they can kind of give you a little bit more support. So like I just said, we are starting our direct one-on-one meetings with all of our families. So I know some of you may have scheduled individual meetings already. If you have not yet done so, you can reach out to the guidance department directly, or you can send us an email. All of our emails are up there. If you do not know who your child's counselor is, you can just come up to us afterwards and we can kind of direct you in the right spot. But these meetings are extremely important because we will be able to answer some of your more specific questions, especially if this is your first time going through the process, even tonight. Some of the information is very overwhelming. So we want to be able to answer all of your more specific questions and individualized questions and be able to give you a little bit of a better idea of what you're getting into. I promise you, it's not as scary and overwhelming as it may come off at first. Once we sit down with you, once you start to get some of your questions answered, once you start to visit schools, it becomes a little bit of an easier process. I am going to leave this part open just for a few questions. We want to make sure that you get out in time, so we have a few minutes for if anyone's going to the Ivy League representatives. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hands, and myself and Ms. Anderson will do our best to answer. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Yes, so we take care of sending everything through guidance. Everything gets sent digitally. So there's something called a transcript request form that the students will have to give to us 2 weeks before their earliest deadline. Once we get that transcript request form from the student, we then know that they're applying on December 1st. We have that 2 weeks before. All of their school documents, including those letters, will be sent out with their transcript. The students will request their teachers through Naviance. The teachers get a link and they upload them directly to Naviance. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So we typically, I will say this, we typically do tell our students in their junior meetings that they need to be asking their teachers in May and June before the end of the school year, or giving them a heads up that they're going to be asking for a letter in September. Will you be willing to write a letter for me? Have it in writing in an email. Does that always happen? Probably not all the time as much as we would like for it to, but we do ask that juniors will ask in May or June, so this way the teachers can start writing in June. Because some of the teachers at some point, some of the teachers have a lot of letters to write that at some point they have to start saying no to students. And if you really want that teacher and they really know you well, you want to make sure you're asking early enough to be able to get one from them. So. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. So it typically, I know what you meant. That's okay. I totally understand. We typically do recommend, so if I usually give the example of if you're going for nursing, you should probably have somebody in math or science providing you with a letter. So somebody who is adjacent, if it's not the exact field, somebody adjacent to the fields. And then your other letter can be a more supportive letter of, they don't both need to be from math and science. We typically say one should be of a subject that makes sense for what you're applying to, and then the other one can be a little bit more of if you have a great relationship with a teacher, or if maybe they coached you outside and you also had them for like an elective class, you can get a letter from them as well. So you basically want to make your application as unique as possible. So as many different ways or as many different people that you can kind of hear from will make you stand out. Like Ms. Ioka had said before, they're really taking a holistic look at applications now. They're not just looking at that overall number anymore. So if you have a teacher who can speak to who you are as your character and also speak to you as an academic, I would definitely suggest to try to get one or the other. Any other questions before I send everyone off? Just tired. It's the week after a break. We understand. Yeah. Yeah. we should be able to do it now. That's something that when you have your individual junior meetings with the counselor, you should be able to do it one-to-one. Of course. Yes. I will say, just to add to that, and not to throw this out there, but I did work at LIU in admissions, so I do kind of have an idea of how some of the sliding scales work for scholarships, and I would echo that and say as well, if your student is applying to a few different private schools, or even SUNY schools at that point, depending on where they get scholarships, there's also a point later in senior year where you can start to send some of those letters to schools, and you can show that you've gotten a competitive scholarship from one school and ask if they would be willing to either match it or be willing to give you a little bit more money in terms of scholarship to apply to that school. So a lot of students, like St. John's is a really big one. St. John's gives a lot of money to our students. So we do have a good idea of different private schools that we can suggest to you. But if anyone knows off of their mind or off of experiences of any schools, I mean, we're more than willing to listen, because it does. If it helps one, that means it'll help all. So I appreciate you adding that. Thank you. Yeah. It's a process. So scholarships are all posted, that we have are all posted on Naviance. So we post regional ones, local ones, school-specific, subject-specific scholarships. Some of the foundations will also send them to us. A lot of those will come out in November or December. The majority of them are out now, but you do have to wait to be a senior in order to start applying to any scholarships. So all of that, once you have access to Naviance as a parent, or even if you have access to your child's, there's a scholarship tab on Naviance that will show you, and it is multiple pages. So you do have to sometimes skim through them to see which options apply, but there are a ton and they're stackable, so you can apply to as many as you possibly can. Any other questions? Okay, if anyone does think of any questions, again, we're starting our junior meetings on Monday, so if you have not yet scheduled an appointment, please feel free to reach out to any one of us, or you can call the guidance department. We're there as early as usually 7 a.m. in the morning, up until somebody is there until the end of the day at like 3:30-ish. So if you have not yet scheduled anything, please, please, please do your best to get in. And if for some reason you can't physically get into this building, we can do a Google Meet or a phone call. We just want to make sure we're connecting with each and every one of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Moore.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who came and spread the word. Also, I know it was a lot of information tonight. So one of the reasons why I got up here, this information can be found in the class of 2027's Google Classroom. So in the event there's some information that you may have seen that you're a little bit more interested in, or maybe something that you thought you heard, you didn't know, or you have another question, by all means, this is available to all of our students, as well as available to all of our parents. So I wanted you to know that as well. On the college process, it's a long one, but it's very rewarding at the end, and it's can be a little stressful at the same time. So this concludes our program for tonight in this portion of the building. If you'd like to hear from a Harvard representative, it's in room 104. Okay, so it's in room 104. I encourage everyone to go, even if you might not be interested in Harvard. I encourage everyone to go. So it'd be down freshman hallway, and I want to make sure that everyone gets home safe after the presentation. And feel free to contact your counselor. Have a great night.